Bobby fought John Ott. Bobby was dominant from the start as he took John down and threw ground and pound.
She wanna swim, hold your breath, we're diving in. She takes off, they hit her dance, run my wave, and you bend. No fringe, they're dead. I left her on red, yeah. Louis V back now.
What's good? Dark Knight gang in the stank, gang. Bro, yeah, y'all requested it. Don't trip, you know I got y'all. This video is from Keon Kimura, something like that. It's titled, How Good Was Bobby Lashley Actually? We're about to see Milk Dud. Y'all know he's the WWE champion right now. Shout out to my boy Bobby Lashley. But we're going to be talking about his UFC MMA career. Y'all said y'all want me to react to it. I'm trying to see what's up as well. Now, I was not watching UFC when Bobby Lashley was a part of it, so I have no idea how good he was. I don't know anything about his record. I don't know. I mean, Bobby Lashley is big, so obviously he was a heavyweight. And he looked like he's strong. So what do I think? Do I think he was a grappler? Or was he a striker? Or did he have floor game? He don't look like he don't look like he was really good on the floor. I think he just had power. I think he was knocking niggas out. Like, you feel me? Anyway, we about to hop into it. I'm ready to watch this, bro. Shout out to the gang. Everybody continue to go after all your goals and dreams. Remember, I'm not missing one day in April, cuz, yeah. Let's hop on in.
Bobby Lashley is at the top in the world of pro wrestling. At the time of recording this, he is the current WWE champion, which is an accomplishment years in the making for him. But in between that time, he pursued a career in mixed martial arts, and his skills in amateur wrestling translated well as he racked up a record of 15 wins and 2 losses. Despite his impressive resume, he never got the opportunity to fight in the UFC. And in general, his run in MMA tends to be overlooked. So how good was Bobby Lashley actually? Bobby began his MMA career on December 13th, 2008 at the age of 32. He had been wrestling from high school to college and in the army. And although he had aspirations to wrestle at the 2004 Olympic Games, Bobby witnessed a bank robbery which forced him to dive for cover. This resulted in a serious knee injury which required surgery. And this put an end to his amateur career in wrestling. He went on to find success in the WWE between 2000.
Hold on, did y'all hear that? Did he say the bank was being robbed and Bobby Lashley was there so he had to dive out the way and he injured his knee? I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
In 2008, and after being released by the promotion in February of 2008, he set his eyes on MMA. His first opponent was Joshua Franklin, and Bobby dominated by securing an early takedown and throwing ground and pound. This led to more shots on the feet, and after 41 seconds, the doctor stopped the fight due to a cut on Joshua's forehead. 3 months later, he fought Jason Guida and defeated him by unanimous decision. Following this win, Bobby fought Mike Cook. Bobby immediately connected with a right hand that forced a desperation takedown from Mike, but Bobby defended well and got a hold of a guillotine that put Mike to sleep. The fight lasted 24 seconds. A month later, Bobby fought Bob Sapp. Bob came rushing in immediately, but Bobby shot for a takedown and secured it. This led to Bob eating big shots off his back. This continued for most of round 1 before Bobby landed some big right hands that forced a tap. In January of 2010, he made his Strikeforce debut. His first opponent was Wes Sims. Despite Wes's early taunting in the fight and being the bigger and more experienced fighter, Bobby was able to secure a takedown which led to ground and pound. Wes was unable to do anything off his back and was taking a lot of damage to the head. This forced him to cover up, and ultimately, Bobby finished him with punches. Yeah, that taunting was a bad idea. 7 months later, Bobby fought Chad Griggs.
You know the homie got power too, so them punches were no joke.
He started strong by securing a takedown and maintaining top position. And even though Chad got up, Bobby took him down once again. When it got back to the feet this time, Chad connected with a big knee in the clinch. This changed the momentum big time. And when Bobby shot for another takedown, he ate an uppercut that opened up a cut under his eye. But he still managed to end the round on top. And in the second, he continued to control the action by securing a huge takedown, which led to the mount and ground and pound. This continued for the entire fight until the ref stood the fight back up due to inactivity. Which is absolutely crazy because Bobby had the full mount. And after the doctor inspected Bobby's cut, the action continued on the feet. There was 33 seconds left in round 2. Bobby shot for another takedown but got denied. This led to Chad unloading a bunch of hammer fists before the bell rang. But Bobby was clearly rocked and unable to stand up, which forced the ref to stop the fight. Bobby was taken off on a stretcher due to dehydration. And apparently he was suffering from mono prior to this fight and was unable to train for months. After this defeat, Bobby fought John Ott. Bobby was dominant from the start as he took John down and threw ground and pound. In fact, the fight looked close to being stopped early in round 1, but
Alright,
John
Bobby.
survived and continued to take a beating. In round 3, Bobby was exhausted and looked like he'd easily go down with one good punch, but he secured another takedown and threw punches until the end of the fight. After 3 rounds, Bobby won by unanimous decision. He went on to win the Shark Fights Heavyweight Championship against Carl Noth before fighting James Thompson. Bobby opened up the fight with a big right hand, which was followed by a takedown, but James was able to get back up. Once they separated, Bobby unleashed a barrage of punches that clipped James a couple of times.
Okay.
This led to another takedown, but Bobby didn't do much as once again James was able to get back up to his feet. They had another exchange in the clinch before Bobby took the fight down again, but the action didn't last long on the floor as James stood back up. Bobby was visibly tired at this point, and although he shot for another takedown, James denied it and threw knees in the clinch. One of the knees went low and Bobby was given time to recover, and you best believe that he milked as much time as possible.
I would have too.
When the action
Smart.
continued, Bobby had energy to connect with some nice punches before the end of the round. But at the start of round 2, James connected with a nice 1-2 combo. He followed this with knees, punches,
Okay.
and elbows in the clinch. Bobby tried very hard to bring the fight down, but was unable to. He did connect with some nice punches in this round, but it wasn't enough. And although both men were tired going into the final round, it was James who was the fresher fighter. But once again, he connected with another knee that went low. Now, I'm not saying Bobby was fortunate for this to happen to him, but he did get
But
a
he
good
milked
amount
it
of time
again.
to catch
Smart.
his breath. And with
Smart.
2 nut shots, referee Mark Goddard definitely should have taken away a point from James. Regardless, the action continued, and with Bobby's takedown denied again, the two traded in the clinch, which was to James's favor. And that's how most of the round went before a final exchange that saw both men swinging wildly. After 3 rounds,
They
James
look
won by
dead-ass
unanimous
tired.
decision. But personally, I scored it as a draw, as a point should have been deducted due to
'Cause
the
of the
2
two
shots
knees?
down low.
Yeah, I
13
feel
months
you.
later, Bobby fought Kevin Asplund.
Alright, so those were his 2 losses so far. We already seen his 2 losses. So from now on, Bobby's about to get nothing but dubs.
Bobby secured the takedown right away. Kevin managed to get up for a moment, but quickly got taken down again and ate some shots off his back. In fact, the fight looked moments from being stopped before the end of round 1, but Bobby continued to dominate in round 2 by securing another takedown early.
Alright,
This
so
led to
we
an
see-
Americana that forced Kevin to tap. Following this victory, he fought Matthew Larson. Bobby brought the fight down in the opening minute. This led to punches, and although Matthew attempted to Kimura off his back, Bobby defended well and went on to lock in a rear naked choke that forced the tap.
Okay.
After winning his next fight against Tony Melton, which made Bobby the XFN heavyweight champion, he signed with Bellator. His first opponent was Josh Burns. Despite Josh sporting the gladiator trunks, which I personally think looks cool, he
That
got
does
taken
look kinda
down and
dope.
ate a bunch of shots off his back. He tried to stand back up, but this gave Bobby the
Caught
opportunity
him
to
with
lock
it.
in a rear naked
Caught
choke,
him
which
with
forced
it.
the tap. At Bellator 130, he fought Carl
Alright.
Etherington. It took Bobby 90 seconds to secure a takedown and finish Carl with vicious ground and pound. Bobby went on to pick up 3 more wins against Dan Charles, James
That boy
Thompson,
strong.
and Josh Appelt. The lack of footage of these fights online really shows how little Bellator cared in giving Bobby a promotional push. Because after going on a 5-fight win streak with the promotion, Bobby re-signed with the WWE in 2018. And although Bellator said he was still under contract with them, after 4 years of inactivity, Bobby got released in October of 2020. As I make this video, he is 44 years old and hasn't fought since 2016. And a return is highly unlikely at this point, as he is doing some big things in pro wrestling right now.
Yeah,
he is the current
he's getting them
WWE
dubs.
champ.
I didn't know Bobby Lashley was 44 years old. He looks pretty good to be 44,
Yeah,
man.
2021
He in
has
great
been
shape.
great for him, and I'm happy he's getting a push in pro wrestling. So after going 15-2 in a career that saw him become the XFN and Shark Fights heavyweight champion, how good was Bobby Lashley actually? He was definitely a good fighter, which is impressive whenever that could be said about a pro wrestler, because many expect them not to succeed in MMA, but Bobby was an amazing amateur wrestler, which is
Yeah.
always good for a fighter to excel in when they enter MMA. His game plan for every fight was clear, and that was to secure the takedown quickly and
Get
get to
on
work
top.
on the ground.
Yes,
He was
sir.
a smaller heavyweight, but he was also very strong and fast, which helped him secure
He was a smaller heavyweight. Is Bobby Lashley short or something? He don't look short.
and maintain top control. On the ground, he would usually batter his opponents with punches, but as he grew as a fighter, he began to add submissions to his game, which not only helped him stop the fight faster, but also conserve energy in comparison to throwing ground and pound. And cardio was an issue for Bobby in a lot of fights. He would go all out in round 1 with takedowns and ground and pound, which was effective
done
but
after
very
that, huh?
tiring. So
Yeah.
if his opponent managed to get past the first, Bobby would usually be in trouble. He would attempt takedowns, but they'd get denied easily now. And with the fight standing, although Bobby was able to connect, he wasn't a fighter who could control the action on the feet, which was another thing I wish he focused more on and tried to improve, as it would have truly made him an all-around fighter.
Yeah,
But
that's
I can
surprising.
only imagine how tiring it must be to carry all that muscle during a 3-round fight. And although he blew out his gas tank in some of his fights, it only led to the loss twice out of 17 bouts. In fact, I think Bobby should have no defeats on his record, and that's because those losses were controversial. The fight against Chad Griggs was so unfair, and if it happened today, there would be an uproar. Although Bobby was slowing down in this fight, he was still winning due to his top top control. And for the ref to stand the fight back up after Bobby was in the full mount was crazy, especially since that led to the finish by Chad. And on top of all of that, Bobby was suffering from mono prior to the...
What if they didn't really like Bobby like that? Because since he was a wrestler first and then he came to fight, you know what I'm saying?
Fighting, couldn't train because of
I feel
it.
like,
Even his fight against James Thompson
I feel like
had its
fighters
share of
don't
controversy.
necessarily
James
like
had
that.
no point deducted after 2 knees to the groin. Yes,
And
I
I
get
would've
that
made
they
a
were
tie.
unintentional, but in such a close fight, it really mattered. And in my opinion, the fight should have been ruled as a draw. Regardless, Bobby went on to avenge that loss in dominant fashion in their second matchup. So overall, he built an impressive record for himself. But why doesn't his success in MMA get much recognition? Although on paper, a 15-2 record looks good, after a deeper dive, you'd see that Bobby never fought any high-caliber opponents. The biggest names on his resume are James Thompson and Bob Sapp. And although he signed with Bellator, he never faced any of the promotion's top competition. I remember back in Strikeforce when the announcers were discussing the possibility of a matchup between Bobby and Daniel Cormier. But that never happened, and I wish it did, as it would have been a good test to see how good
Daniel
Bobby actually
DC
was.
Cormier
Which
probably
brings me
beat
to
his
the
ass,
question,
bruh.
how come he never signed with the UFC, or how come the UFC never signed him? I mean, they found a huge amount of success with Brock Lesnar. And even if Brock didn't win fights like he did, he would have still been a massive draw due to his following in the WWE. Why couldn't that be the same for Bobby? Well, for one, Brock was the biggest star going into MMA. Although Bobby became very popular and found a lot of success in his first run in the WWE, it wasn't to the same level as Brock. Plus, he was entering the sport at the age of 32, which is pretty late. But the biggest reason why I think the UFC never signed Bobby was because he was still wrestling on the side of his MMA career. Although he was no longer in the WWE, he was still wrestling in the independent circuit, in Japan, and in TNA.
Okay.
He wanted to do both simultaneously. And personally, I just don't think that could be done at the highest level of MMA. Brock Lesnar put his wrestling career on hold to fully commit his time into fighting. And that's why he found the success that he did. Bobby was a solid fighter from the start, but he never evolved. And I don't think it's because he didn't want to, but more because he didn't have the time.
Yeah,
I can only imagine how much
wrestling at
wear
the
and
same
tear his
time,
body
too.
went through between wrestling and MMA. And that must have taken away from training and developing as a fighter. Regardless, Bobby did both professions at the same time, and that deserves some credit.
Yeah,
and even
man,
though he
that's
didn't fight at the highest
boy
level,
Bobby
he did
Lashley,
good
a
with what he
beast.
was
All right,
given.
Milk
That's
Dud.
why I would give his MMA career a 7.5 out of 10. If he had fully
pretty
committed
good,
to
man.
fighting, I definitely think the UFC would have given him a chance. At the most, I think he would have been a top 5 heavyweight with them, and his potential would have been greater had he entered the sport at a younger age. But as much as he loved MMA, he also loved pro wrestling. And since he
That's what I was about to say. I wonder if he loved wrestling more than MMA. You know what I mean?
became the WWE champion for the first time in his career, his stock is at an all-time high, which is a shame because had this happened earlier in his career, it would have given him the leverage to sign with the UFC. But even though it didn't play out that way, he deserves all the success coming his way now. Because over the years, whether it was in wrestling or MMA, there is no doubt in the hard work that Bobby Lashley put in.
Shout out to my boy Keon, great video, my G. I'm just thinking that Bobby Lashley, he might love pro wrestling better. Wrestling just might be his number one, you know what I'm saying? Of course, he loved to fight as well. That's why he joined MMA. But for him to still be doing wrestling at the same time, that goes to show you that he was never going to give up wrestling. You see what I'm saying? Like, for instance, he gave the example of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar stopped wrestling so he can pursue MMA fully. Bobby Lashley was like, nah, I'm going to do MMA, but I'm still going to wrestle because I love wrestling. Wrestling is my fucking heart. It makes sense. You see what I'm saying? So with Bobby Lashley, with wrestling being his number one thing that he loves to do, and now he's the champ, congrats to Milk Dud, cuz you my nigga. See y'all next time. Shout out to the gang.